Tetris-styled games have been seeing a steady rise over the last year, and somehow each new entry keeps things more innovative than the last. Duchy is a strategy roguelike that I happened to overlook during our previous Steam Next Fest showcase. It blends Tetris mechanics with resource management tied to each block and tactical battles that unfold at the end of every stage. It has a simple concept, but one that feels surprisingly well designed for a game like Tetris that has been around for the last 4 decades, yet still has one of the largest followings in competitive play because of the level of skill curve needed to break through. What immediately stood out was the sound design. A handful of the sound effects reminded me of a game called Armello, the once promising PvP board game that never got the support that it deserved as it slowly faded into obscurity. Hearing those familiar tones again brought back a strange kind of comfort. There's a warm nostalgia in those subtle flute sounds that made the game feel calming in a way. It's relaxing, yet energizing, and gives the game a personality that goes beyond its minimalistic look. Visually, the game doesn't try to overcomplicate anything. The design sticks closely to the classic Tetris logic. Your Tetris pieces sit clearly on the left side, and the field stretches out in front of you as pieces fall from the top. You can store a block for later or hold off placing one if you don't want to deal with enemy forces on the board, which can be found in the top right. It's a game that can be easily jumped into, and that clarity helps keep the pacing smooth. Each tile is distinct. Every piece shows its terrain type clearly, whether it's plains, forests, mountains, or lakes. These aren't just for show. As you build your rows, just like with Tetris, the terrain affects your resource gains and bonus modifiers, which let you buy new terrain or army pieces in later stages. So you're going to have to build smart to earn more and ultimately strengthen your options as you slowly make your way towards the tougher challenges. Duchy at first might seem boring, but the moment that you start placing pieces, it becomes clear that it's all about strategy. Every decision is tied to one goal: building your army up for battle and stacking up resource bonuses. These mechanics are tied together in a way that makes every tile matter outside of just fitting one into place for higher scores. Your camps will generate troops based on the surrounding terrain. Something as simple as placing a camp next to plains will start to fill it with soldiers. But that's only the first layer. If you were to add a farm nearby, the setup changes. The farm would then upgrade nearby plains after troops have already been applied, supplying them with even more soldiers. This is the key to strengthening your armies, while also manipulating layouts in such a way that you can pull off strategies that might not have seemed possible. You might think, why exactly would you need camps? It's not like there's any enemies. Well, that's the next layer of the mechanics. Enemy camps start appearing once you've chosen your path, be that a pacifist to avoid them or heading straight on into them for the battles. Just like with your own camps, you're going to be the one to place them down as well. Now the goals are reversed. You want to sabotage them by interrupting their combinations and using them for your own troops by breaking up the strong tile placements. This will limit how many troops that they can raise. What starts as a peaceful building game shifts into a tug of war where mistakes will have consequences. Once the board is full, the focus moves on your planning stage. This is where things can be a little bit tricky for new players. You can use the basic tutorial system that explains how unit types will interact with each other, that being a triangle system for their strengths and also their weaknesses. Your job is to line up your army to take advantage of those weaknesses, ideally starting with your strongest units and working through their weakest. If the planning works out, you'll sweep through their forces, take over their enemy camps, and merge your troops into the final waves of attacks. You don't need to win every battle. You just need to survive, and to that extent, your health pool is limited, and poor planning means that you can take some serious damage before your run even begins. Success will depend both on your early placements and your ability to adapt during the fight. The gameplay loop is actually really fun. Gather, sabotage, fight, and repeat. Every phase feeds into the next. The longer that you play, the more you start thinking 5 steps ahead, and that's where Duchy really shines. Offering plenty of features to unlock, you are sure to have a fun time since it's not rushing you in any way, shape, or form. Though I do think it's possible that certain players would much rather a version of this gameplay that has a sped up modifier, alongside the inability to recall your pieces to the top of the board with the whole switch out feature. What begins as a relaxing puzzle game quickly turns into satisfying and frustrating strategy. Duchy doesn't waste your time with fillers. It gets right to the point in a way that rewards patience and also planning, which I think could be expanded upon. Instead of allowing players to take as much time as they want, the blocks could naturally fall like Tetris, and the same could be said about saving pieces for later use. I feel like it would add a lot more challenge. Depending on how much depth you want to chase, you could spend anywhere from about 5 to 10 hours here before moving on to something else. Maybe more if the mechanics really click with you. So if you enjoy Tetris-style games or just strategy titles that aren't afraid to throw new types of elements your way, Duchy is well worth your time. It's sharp, challenging at times, and knows exactly what it wants to be.